Okay, it's like 30 seconds past 8:35, so we'll get started. Today the lecture is on modifiers, LazyLists, and reactive UI, but before that, we will get to the Kahoot. 1 second. Yep, let me put the Kahoot up there.
Oh no. Wait. Wait.
I can turn on the music too.
Oh, wait. Okay, yeah, I guess the music just caused it. Wait, that's so sad.
Okay, everyone should be able to join today.
Sorry.
Well, let me know if you can't join. Oh, and use your net ID. Wait, I'll remove you so you can, yeah, join with your net ID. Sorry, not sure who that was. I can turn it on.
Wait, that works. No more echo.
Okay, that's good. Um,
Oh wait, there's actually Halloween lobby music. It's funny.
6, 8. Should be one more person. Uh,
Oh, and also the people in Zoom.
yeah, no, with them. Should be
Okay,
one more
okay.
person.
We have 10
Okay,
now.
we should be good.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just get started. Okay. The music is so off sync. It's
I
okay.
know, I'm trying.
Okay, what is a higher order function in Kotlin? This was from last lecture.
Where's it gone?
One more person? Okay. I think it's just, yeah, the timer ran out. So everyone got it right. This is great. So yeah, a higher order function is basically a function that can take in other functions as arguments and then use the function that's passed in to perform like another action, basically. Let's go to the next question. Oh yeah, the scoreboard. So similar question, what is an extension function in Kotlin?
I'll find a longer countdown. Oh,
There we go.
that works too.
Think that's everyone? Yeah. Okay, yeah, most people got it right. So an extension function is a function that adds functions to classes that already exist and cannot be modified. So for example, you can add functions to the list class or the string class, stuff like that. Next. So what is the Kotlin keyword that helps handle null types? Oh, okay, yeah, that was a pretty close one, but the dot is the period is important. Um, there's no like just question, right?
Yeah, there's
Okay,
no
yeah.
just question.
So yeah, the period. So basically, the way you like check nullable types is if it's nullable, then you do something, and then if it's not, you do the other thing. So the question mark dot, you do something basically. And last question. Oh, CAK285 streak. That's great. This is about P1. I hope everyone remembers to submit it. That's great. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad no one said P1 question mark. So I'm glad everyone remembered to submit it. But yeah, we can keep going. And congrats to all the people who are on the podium. I don't know you, any of you can spell your net ID. So yeah. Okay, so we can keep going. One sec. Yeah. So some announcements. As I said earlier, P1 was due yesterday. I hope everyone remembered to submit it. And then office hours also started last week. The schedule is on the course GCal, and if anything's on Zoom, the link will either be on the GCal or it'll be posted on Ed. And then please fill out the weekly feedback form, especially this week because this is my first lecture and I would really like some feedback from you guys. And oh, make sure you enroll in Student Center because we need Student Center and CMSX to sync. And to do that, you guys need to be enrolled in both. I think I added everyone on CMSX, but if someone's not in there, let me know after class. But yeah, that is it for the announcements. And yeah, modifiers. Okay. So we kind of talked about modifiers. We kind of looked at them like the last two lectures. But basically, what modifiers do is they allow you to decorate or augment a composable. So I think we looked at how to like I think we had fill max width at some point. That is a modifier. We'll look at a bunch of modifiers like that later on in this lecture. So what they basically do is they alter the layout, the appearance, or like what they should do when a certain interaction happens with the composable. And this is an example of how a modifier is used. This should be somewhat familiar to you guys because we did use this format, but it's a bit blurry. So to add a modifier to a composable, you should start with this like modifier lowercase and then equals. And then after the like uppercase modifier, you can add all the modifiers in a chain. So here in this column, we add padding and then we fill it to like the maximum width. You can add all of the modifiers like that in a chain, and then it'll add all the modifiers to the composable like that. And these are some of the common modifier functions that are used. Padding we just saw earlier. So what padding does is basically it adds padding around the composable. And then size is pretty self-explanatory. You just set the size of the composable. You can set the width and height separately. And then fill max width and fill max height. And there's also one that I haven't added here, which is fill max size. Basically means the composable fills the maximum size of what it's inside. So if the composable is in the screen and it has fill max width, it fills up to like the maximum width of the screen. And same with fill max height. And then align basically aligns the composable like we learned in the first lecture. So you can if it's a composable that should be aligned horizontally, you can only put like center horizontally. And if it's a composable that you can like align vertically, you can only put align vertically. And if you try to put anything else, it'll give you like the red squiggly line. So you like immediately know that it's not supposed to be there. And background is self-explanatory, it just adds a background color. And clickable is another important one that we'll be using a lot. It basically does is when you click on a composable, it'll run the onClick function. So let's say you click on a composable and you want it to change some variable. You would put that in the curly braces. Oh, the curly braces right here. Um, and another thing about modifiers that is important but not mentioned a lot is that the order you apply the modifiers is important. So what difference do you guys see in these two functions? Like this text and this text, the two different texts. What difference do you see except for the actual text in there? Anyone? Yeah.
One does background and modifier, or sorry, background and padding, the one does padding reaction.
Yes, exactly. So this is basically what the first one does, and this is the second one. What the second one does. So you might think, oh, like I can just apply all of the modifiers in like any order and then it'll look the same, but it doesn't. So the first one applies background first and then padding first. So it adds the background color and then it adds padding. So it expands to like the background color expands to the padding. And in the second one, you apply the padding first and then you add the background to just the compose, like the text part. So it doesn't expand to the whole thing. So the order which you apply modifiers is very important. You just can like play around with this and see like what different orders do. But yeah, it should be it for modifiers. That was a lot. We did like touch on modifiers earlier lectures, but if do you guys have any questions about what we learned so far? Okay, I guess we're good to go. So lazy list is another important concept. So you know how in like let's say Instagram, because we used that example last week, you like scroll and it's like an infinite scroll. Like you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, you get more and more and more posts. That's achieved by lazy list. So a lazy list is basically used to represent a large list without having to load every element at once. So let's say like you're scrolling on Instagram, right? You don't want your app to load every single post when you open the app because that's going to take a lot of memory, that's going to take a lot of time. What you want is to only load the ones you see on the screen. So this is achieved by lazy list, and only the cells that are visible to the user are created at like runtime, and everything else is like rendered when you scroll down. And this is basically like like it how it renders all the cells. So as you like scroll up, it recycles. This is more of a Android native like diagram, but it's kind of the same concept. As you scroll up, you don't need like the ones that well that's like out of the screen, but you're gonna need the ones that are like below the screen that are coming up. So like the ones that are below the screen gets rendered, and the ones that are like above the screen are like going away. They get recycled basically. And so there's three kinds of lazy lists. The three like the names are pretty self-explanatory. Lazy row is horizontal, lazy column is vertical, and then lazy grid is like basically a grid. This is an example usage of a lazy list. So a lazy column. So unlike usual composables, lazy columns don't take like any composable into them. They have something called a lazy list scope, and you can only add item or items in there. So item, what it does is you can add one single item, like one single list item to the lazy column. And what items does is you can add multiple items in like one composable, like one block of code. So here, items five, you're adding five items. And then what index does here is you can reference like the index of each item. So in this case, it's like the numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. And then you just basically print out the index. So you can add items to the lazy column using either item or items. Does anyone have questions about this so far? Yeah. So another thing you might want to do is, let's say you have a list of data. Let's say you have like a list of posts, and then you want to put that into a lazy column, right? It's not going to be just like numbers or a list of like words. You have like a set of data that you want to pass in. So you can do the same thing with by passing in the data into items and then use it to access it. So in this case, it is a string. So this is data is a list of strings. And then by calling it, you like basically rendering each list item as like an item on your screen. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, there's an example of like data. So it is a list of strings, and then you pass in the list of strings, and then by calling it, you can access each list item. Yeah, that was it for the first two parts. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to this part? So reactive UI is a pretty big concept in basically any mobile development system. Before we actually get into reactive UI, let's look at imperative and declarative programming. So basically what imperative programming is you tell you tell the program how to achieve the result. So you give the instructions step by step on how to achieve it. And then the difference with declarative is you describe what you want to achieve, but you don't say how you want to achieve it. You just say what you want to achieve, and then you assume that the computer knows the best way to achieve it. So I think I have a few examples, a few slides down. Let's see. Okay, I think I'll get to it after I explain reactive UI. But yeah, this is reactive UI. The declarative programming is also used in Flutter and Swift UI, so it's very applicable. And this is definitely one of the most important and somewhat tricky concept to like understand. This is a meme that I found on the internet. I thought it was funny. I'll bring it back after the lecture. I feel like you guys will understand it more after the lecture. But yeah, so what reactive UI is, so it falls under declarative programming. So what it does is basically it reactive UI means the UI changes when the data you pass into the UI changes. So without you explicitly asking it to change. So let's say you have a variable and the variable has a certain value, and then you pass the variable in to a certain UI component, right? And then when the variable changes, you would want the component, like what the component to show also change. But reactive UI does it without you explicitly asking it to change. If we weren't using reactive UI, what we would be doing is we would change the variable and then we would re-render the component manually. But using reactive UI, we can just ignore the part about manually rendering it and let the UI do it itself. This is like the data flow of the reactive UI. So when there's an update, the data changes first, and then it notifies the UI to also change. So like what I said earlier, we don't have to notify the UI to change, like the update does it itself. Does anyone have any questions about the concept so far? It is a bit tricky. Okay, I guess we're good to go. Yes, so state is basically what we use in reactive UI in Android development. And what state is, it basically represents data that can change over time. And this might be like a very abstract concept for now, but once you get more practice with it, it'll be much like easier to understand. So let's say this example. So usually what we would do is like we would declare a variable like this, and then yeah, we would declare a variable like this, and then we would pass it into, oh, sorry, we would pass it into a text composable, and then we would change the variable. But what's shown on the screen by the text composable won't change because we didn't re-render it, but the value of the greeting itself changed. What we would want is what's shown on the screen to change as well. So to achieve that, we use states, and this is the syntax of states. Um, I'll break down the syntax a few slides later, so you don't have to worry about this right now. But it does look a bit tricky. But what it does is, so if we declare like the variable greeting in this way, in this syntax, then when the greeting changes, what's passed into text, like what you see on the screen, also changes without us having to explicitly ask it to change, if that makes sense. So the problem with like the first method, the problem with this one is you would have to like ask each component to re-render when the variable changes, and that makes your code a lot more. It makes your code longer, it makes it unreadable. It's just a lot of work for you. And if we just use states, you don't have to ask the composable to change. It'll automatically do it for you. It'll automatically recompose to show any change in like the variable is passed in. Um, so yeah, so what you can think of this concept as like you create the component and then you like pipeline in the data, and then when the data changes, it's still like pipelining it in. So what's shown by the component is the changed data. Yeah, so let's break down the somewhat tricky syntax of this. So so what by does right here, instead of like an equal sign, is it allows name to be used as a regular variable instead of a state. So if we didn't have by, if we said var like variable name equals remember and all that, it would be a state and not a variable. So to access the actual value of name, you would have to say name.value. But if you use this syntax, you can just access the name of access the value of name, but by just calling name. And then remember is a very important part of this. So what it does is it basically remembers the value of like the variable across recomposition. So let's say you have like a variable that's called greeting, and then you change it from hello to goodbye. And the when it changes the like text composable will also re-render because it's a variable. But with like between the recomposition, we don't want the program to forget what the variable is changed to. So if you have remember, we would remember it across recompositions. And then mutable state is basically initializes what's inside of it, and it makes it into like state instead of a regular variable. And what's like inside of the parentheses is basically what the initial value of the state is. Um, does anyone have any questions about this part yet? Okay. Yeah, this is an example of using states. So here, instead of saying var count equals 0, we just say var count by remember mutable state of 0. And now we pass that into this text component right here. This, yeah. And then this button, when you click the button using onClick, which we talked about earlier, it changes the value of count. It increments it by 1. But notice how we don't explicitly call text again for it to recompose because because it's a state, when the value of count is changed, the text composable is also recomposed to show that change. I think that should be it for the lecture, but we do have a small demo. Before the demo, does anyone have any questions about any of these? Is everything clear to everyone? Okay. You can go to the demo. I should have a slide about it. Yes. So if everyone can open Android Studio, what you guys should do is on like your main screen, you should have a text composable and a button. And the button syntax, if you haven't learned it already, I could pull it up and put it on the screen right next to this. And the text composable should say hello. And then when the button is pressed, the value in text should change to goodbye. But you shouldn't explicitly call for text again for it to change. It should be a state. So when the button is pressed, the variable is changed to goodbye, and what's displayed also changes to goodbye. Does it make sense to everyone? Okay, I'll put up the button syntax for you guys.
They can also just like feel free to look up the
Oh yeah,
syntax
feel
if
free
they
to
want
look
as
up
well.
as well. I'm just gonna make it a little bit easier for you guys.
I think especially like the I remember syntax is like really hard to
Yeah.
remember. So
Oh,
it might be good to look that up as well. Wow, your slide stays so big when you like split the screen.
okay. Should I pull up the by remember syntax as well? Do think I
I
have
don't know if
space?
they'll have space.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's fine. Yeah, that's good. You have lectures that are actually reasonably paced. Congratulations. That's okay.
I think there's 3 people. So.
On like as always, just raise your hand if you need help, and
Yeah.
one of us can help you out. So this diagram. Remember, I did this for like my React Native TikTok.
Sure.
Like the
Wait,
remember
I know the
yeah.
TikTok. The diagram. Oh,
This is like a more complex version. It's pretty
that
interesting.
confuses.
Yeah, but no, like when you understand this, it makes stuff a lot easier. Maybe we can show this at the end if we have time.
I wouldn't know what it's.
I could. You can see.
I can just point it. I have the TikTok.
Like that seems pretty short.
Yeah,
So
ten
I mean, we could
minutes.
just like check it on people,
Yeah,
and you could also give like bonus tests. You know,
I don't. Mm.
you could do like a counter or something.
That's. I could. That's my next week step. But I could do
Oh,
it now and
okay.
then make another one for next week.
Wait, what? Wait, oh, like your Wednesday demo,
Yeah, like a big.
the big demo.
Yeah,
Okay.
I should make. Wait. Oh, sure. Six.
Hmm.
6, 8,
Oh, wow.
4. That's nice.
This is my down. Work of genius. You get that.
It's going to dance on.
Oh, like the list. Really?
No,
Wait, what do you mean?
like my next week's, I will make a little bit of it
Oh, okay.
if we have time. We probably
Yeah.
have like 15 minutes left.
I mean, people are still typing. Yeah. But it's hard to tell. I mean, I think people are. Yeah. Can we get like a thumbs up if you finish, a middle thumb if you're still working, and a thumbs down if you have like no clue what to do?
Good.
Okay,
That's good.
take your time.
You should teach it.
I don't think that's for this lecture.
Right.
We gotta save the best for the end. Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good question. So, like, if you remember from the first lecture, I kind of went for like the main activity. And the main activity is right here. This is what shows the set content is what shows what's going to show. So if we should like follow this pattern, what actually shows up is this like reading. Yeah. It's just like the demo. So the code would jump out to here, and then you can see that like the code that you made is not being used. So yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. So I was like, yeah, yeah. But like this is like a very good start. Like this is what this we want to show. Like you're gonna have to display the text as well. But the thing is, we actually have to call this composable function we created. Like it's gray right now. So yeah. Do you like where you think you might want to call it?
For me, like, based on like, calling it.
Yeah, yeah. You could call it under greeting. That's perfectly called. Yeah. Okay. So your build button example has the like parameter this function on click. Um and yeah, so I guess like, another thing you want to consider is like what this button is doing when you click it. So like I see you have text equals goodbye, and that's good. That's what we'll to do. But the thing is that you have it like inside of these curly braces instead of these on like equals and then those curly braces. That's where we actually yeah. And then these curly braces just represent extra human and you put inside those curly braces. Yeah. So is it yeah, exactly. So the button, like the button composable basically has two parameters. The first parameter is on click, so like what functionality you want to happen when you click the button. The second parameter is the content. So what UI content do we want to display inside the button? So if you want to like label the button, you can place text in. So like right now you have this code that should have like you made like the UI content, and you want to put that set as the first parameter. Yeah, yeah. So this on click is coming from here, right? And this function, like right now, if we go back in here, we're passing in like a Jenkins function. You see, like, so, um, like we're so this is a function basically, right? And we're calling this function, so there's like parentheses here, and then we're passing in an on click as a parameter, passing into the function like a higher function. So what gets passed in is like this empty function actually. That's like what you were calling. Like really we don't need this parameter here because I mean actually it depends on like how you want to do it. But I guess like when I think about this, I feel like you don't really need a separate composable just for the button because there's already buttons. You don't need to make your own button composable. So yeah, I guess
I think the example is kind of confusing too. Like the
just focus on like what's inside of the example that like button on click equals on click and the text right? So you don't actually need to make a whole other
this is yeah.
says like Jetpack compose, they already did that, you know. Um
Yeah, just this part is what I need. So, the highlighted part.
so for the practice part, are you saying it goes like yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you understand? Because like this part is for actually the part. You know, what the button does. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So there's a syntax error there, and like, uh, if you remember, so you don't actually need to call like on click. This function like doesn't act. You know, so we can just get rid of it. And now, oh, so okay, yeah, exactly. So for that example, yeah, for that example, the on click doesn't actually. It depends. Like you would do if you want this fill button is you would pass on click as a parameter to the fill button example composable, and then it would do something. But if you don't pass anything to the composable, then it's not going to do anything. So like see up here, we pass like this empty function. So which is wouldn't do it. Because that's what on-click holds hold the can be passed. Yeah. So that's why I would say like this control holder doesn't in that case, there's nothing in I guess. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that first parameter you're passing it on click, and then for a second you can like put in the do. So that can be, and like the cool thing about that is it can be any composable function. So um oh, that's
Oh,
oh yeah, okay. So whenever you this is like kind of a weird thing, but whenever you like write by remember for the first time, you have to import two separate like these things. So what should be isn't it error? Does it like give you an alternate? This is quite confusing. So okay, can I take a look here? What do you want to pass in? Say basically but what do you want so the instruction should be put to the print species. Yeah. Probably. So what you want them to yeah, okay, so you're definitely missing the imports. But for some reason, like the tooltip, like this little error isn't like letting you auto import it. So kind of I don't have it memorized, but I could put it on the screen for everyone. I think that'll be helpful. There's only a consent was with it. That is very like what's and plus and like you can just make anything and then just the mainstream is set why is with the machine like so it's that you can there's a cut this is so yeah, and your solution is also sure I shouldn't be writing it outside. Maybe can be here. It can be, you could also be writing outside, but when you're writing outside, you get so you learn the issue that you yeah, you can cancel. So it'll make it easier to write. But there are the things that you want to write outside, like make the okay. And another thing about the syntax, so when you pass information from like from this was like do you have to add it's fine. It should be correct versus available. Yeah, function is right. And I mean yeah, so now the only issue is that the string is there's no issue trying to start. Yeah, try getting I'll go over the solution. Like everything that's under. Yeah, well your intuition is just like get rid of it. And then start typing remember and yeah, now click on like double click to all. And now see if it oh wait, actually yeah, so that's just our type in mutable state up in there and make sure to use all. Because usually when you double click on the fill, oh wait, it has a lowercase yeah. And then we'll just put in the empty sheet. And maybe now order to pursue. Yeah, you shouldn't have to like type in this. Oh, you know what? It could also be like an ID thing you have. Um, if you go to like the settings of Android and we'll search for auto dash import. Search there. Oh yeah, scroll on the comment. Oh, it's already on. Okay, yeah, I think I actually had you turn it on the first. Oh, okay. I guess we can just show the import statements on the board. That's weird. That's not here.
wait, which one?
Okay, wait.
You can just
Yeah.
yeah.
I might expose the solution for a minute,
Oh,
but like
wait, just yeah.
I'll just do that. And then how do you zoom in on this?
Huh? Oh, zoom in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can.
Wait, actually it's fine. There's like it's not even
It's not.
supposed
It's
to.
yeah. It's
Okay, it's just these four. Sorry. Wait, here. Do you wanna or you got this. This is your laptop.
Do you want? Wait, which four do you
Um
want me to?
or just like move that to the board and then just highlight the
This four
runtime ones. Yeah.
and this. All
Um
of this.
I mean I think the text and button automatically get imported.
Okay.
So yeah.
These
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then.
Or just like yeah, move.
Oh, wait, click something else. Okay, not being. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just those the four, not the last two,
Um,
should be fine. Yeah. So just like a quick announcement, when you like use the by remember syntax,
oh, sorry.
you actually have to import like these four methods. So like usually this gets automatically imported for you. And if you have a red squiggly line, like most of the time you're able to hover over it and like press on the tooltip, like the suggestion, and that will import those for you. But if that's not working, you can just write out the import statement. So there they are. I think get value and set value, you usually have to like use the tooltip to import those. So yeah, if the tooltip like isn't working for you, then put these imports at the top of your screen.
Can also go over the solution because we have 4 minutes left. I think everyone's give them like 1 minute. Okay, I'll go with solution now. I'll bring this back up so you guys can note down the imports. So this is one possible solution. There could be many more. So this is, I would say, one of the simplest solutions. I saw other people doing it in different ways, and all of them are correct. So what I have done here is, oh, sorry, I have a text variable, a variable called text, and it is a state variable. So see the like state syntax right here. And then in a column, I have a text and a button composable. And the vertical arrangement, horizontal arrangement, those bring the two composable, like the content of the column to the middle. So that's how you center those two. And then what's passed into text is basically the text variable. And then when you click on button, this on-click function right here, this is basically what the button should do when it's clicked. So what we want the button to do when it's clicked is change the text variable to goodbye. And when that is changed, the the text composable should display goodbye. I can try running the demo. I don't know how good it will be because my computer is not the best, but um yeah, this is one of the solutions. You guys can note it down if you want, and there are many ways of doing this, so don't think that your solution is wrong. This is the only solution, but yeah. So choose screen.
Mhm.
So okay.
I mean, I think I'm recording like the meeting, not my screen, so it should be fine.
Okay. Okay, it's not very clear, but the text composable is right here. It says hello, and then when you click on the button, it changes to goodbye. So that's what it should do. Um, but yeah, that's it for this lecture. We have 20 seconds. If you guys have any questions, come up to us, and if you didn't get into the Kahoot, come up to us, and make sure to register. Enroll in Student Center. I'll actually pull up the code for the class again, so you guys can have it. Note it down. And that is it for the lecture. Have a good night, everyone. Yep, there you go.
Nice. Yeah, good idea.